Hello from Tokyo. Obviously, we wish we were with you, but unfortunately, international travels remains largely impractical. We'd like to thank you all for your kind attention to our presentation, which we will explain why Japanese wellness, that's practice, J-wellness remain a key theme for our industry. Some of you would have been with us in New York in January for the launching the Future Wellness 2020, the Global Wellness Trend Report. Our presentation on the J-Wellness focused on the lessons to be learned from Japan's long leadership in longevity. J-Wellness, both then and now, is a positive message. It's exciting innovations occurring on top its cultural traditions of trust, exacting quality in all matters, and the deep reverence of nature. Shortly after the New York event, the world descended into the COVID-19 pandemic. Mitigation policies, including lockdowns, tragedy, and the ongoing several testing of the cohesion of societies. I imagine we have all been thinking about the importance of community, helping our neighbors in need. Japan has a long maintained sense of collective welfare, community solidarity. Trust is one of the three pillars of J-Wellness. Ikiki Plaza and the stress checking program are recent government initiatives to support an inclusive society. Social cohesion has been critical in Japan to fighting against the COVID-19. So Peter?
Thank you, Yoriko. Japan has had an outstanding relative performance combating COVID-19 related deaths. Adjusted for population size, as you'll see in the table, Japan's deaths per 100,000 people are just 1.3, and this compares to the 63 deaths per 100,000 in the US. In total, Japan has had well under 2,000 deaths from COVID-19 so far. COVID-19 related deaths reflect the number of infections, confirmed cases, and the mortality rate from becoming infected. By benchmarking against the G20 countries, though we've had to exclude China for data reliability reasons, this allows us to attribute Japan's relatively good performance. As shown in this slide, Japan's reduced deaths resulting from a relatively low mortality rate have been 923 deaths, and Japan's reduced deaths resulting from a relatively low infection rate has been 27,786. Therefore, relatively low infections are overwhelmingly the more important factor. Having pre-existing medical conditions has been identified as contributing to a higher COVID-19 mortality risk. As shown in this table, Japan has the lowest rate of obesity in the G7. There's a good J-wellness story here of nutrition, physical activity, and government policies nudging people towards better health. However, with Japan's relatively low COVID-19 mortality rate only accounting for 3.2% of Japan's low deaths per 100,000 people, it's not the key story for today. For those wanting more, please see our book, J-Wellness, the Economics, Career Options and Investment Opportunities. We would like to say a special thank you to Susie and Nancy, who kindly contributed the books forward. Moving on to why Japan's had relatively low infections, Japan's government policies have actually been fairly typical. They've closed the borders, they appealed for an ongoing commitment to good hygiene, they closed the schools, and they introduced a soft lockdown for nearly 8 weeks. However, there's been a near universal compliance, even though there was no legal penalties for non-compliance. This is Japan's sense of collective welfare, community solidarity in action. Japan has an exceedingly high rate of face mask usage, for example. Also, early on, Japan had a campaign against super spreaders entitled Avoid the 3 Cs. To get this across to you, think of a karaoke club. Closed spaces with poor ventilation, crowded places with many people nearby, close contact settings such as close range conversations, and obviously belting out a good song at a very high volume. Encouraged by the government to close, virtually all karaoke clubs in Japan did close, along with similar establishments. Klaus Schwab and Terry Marare's book, COVID-19, The Great Reset, discussed the need for a new social contract. In Japan too, the opportunity of society having pulled together to fight COVID-19 is leading to change at the margin. Japan has more to do on workplace practices, the work-life balance. And Japan is using the opportunity of the pandemic to accelerate flexible work styles.
So now we are talking about the teleworking. Teleworking is approaching 1 day a week on average. There's obviously great variation by industry as shown here. In addition to working from home, the Japanese government has been supporting working first vacation. The Japanese government expecting that we are taking more holidays, more vacation, because we are really hesitating to take the vacation. Let us explain why.
English people have never had any problems taking holidays, but let me explain the Japanese perspective. As you can see here, Japanese feel the guiltiest about taking holidays and perceive the lowest rate of boss support. 63% of Japanese feel guilty taking holidays versus only 31% of people in the US feeling guilty. 53% of Japanese think their boss is supportive of holidays, only about half, compared to a perceived 72% in the US. The consequence is that on average, 10 days of paid holiday entitlement is not utilized in Japan every year. A hybrid workation has a lot of potential in Japan.
So our government, the Ministry of Environment, which manage the onsen and forest. The Ministry of Environment this year established a budget for testing case of successful workation style in Japan's art national parks. We were honored to be chosen as one of the 1,400, only 28 selected project. So we tested the viability of utilizing high-end ski resort in the off-season. And we're providing several programs, like a roboting and the coding for children. And the parents is working hard, however, enjoying the spa. And all family is working in the forest and, bonding with their family tight. So national and the nutritious cuisine is also helping the children's, mental as well. So the result was very, very promising. The Japanese Ministry of Environment would like to using the onsen and the forest to develop more people's, mental health. And they would like to extend these kind of activities and budget more in the next year. So now I'd like to say last January in New York, we promised to see all of you in Japan for year 2020 Olympic Games. However, it's kind of postponed. But now we are planning to have our Olympic Games in January year 2021. So we are very, very looking forward to seeing in Tokyo, and we please enjoy our wellness style in Japan. So see you soon.